Welcome to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict. Today we are talking about lightning. Recently in the news, we had a 17-year-old up just north of Flagstaff on Humphreys Peak who was struck and killed by lightning during some thunderstorms that went over the area. He was also with two others. He was 17 years old, and he was with another 17-year-old and an 18-year-old. Those two also suffered injuries just due to the proximity to the lightning strike. So that's kind of what brought this show about. And here to talk about lightning, the dangers of it, the details of it, everything, is meteorologist in charge at the Belmont office for the National Weather Service, Brian Klimowski.
Good morning.
And we also have Verde Valley Fire District's Chief Nazeh Hazimi here. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So monsoon season, full swing. We had a little break there a couple months ago in July, or I believe, or June. So now it's back. And when we're talking about, I guess, first off, with the monsoon season, while we have you here, Brian, can you run through some of just the main hazards that we face? I know we've touched about it in our newscast and we've talked to you about it, but just again, can you run through some of the main hazards with the monsoon?
Oh, you bet. Our monsoon season basically runs here in northern Arizona from the last week in June all the way through September, and the hazards are associated with the thunderstorms that form. So we have to talk about what hazards are associated with thunderstorms. That's lightning, very heavy rain and flash flooding, very strong winds, hail, and occasionally tornadoes, though in northern Arizona we don't have too many tornadoes to worry about.
Okay, so now lightning. Let's just kind of shift our focus solely on lightning. What is important to know about lightning, and give us some of just the details on what's going on up in these thunderstorms that we see, and what produces this lightning?
Oh, you bet. Thunderstorms are called thunderstorms because they produce lightning and have the thunder, and that's a very dangerous aspect about our monsoon season. Lightning comes from, well, the origins in lightning are in the thunderstorms because of some very strong updrafts in the storms. That causes what we call a charge separation, kind of like scraping your shoes across a carpeted floor, to where if you touch anything metal, you get a shock. Essentially the same thing is going on in the clouds. We have ice crystals and small hailstones up there that are generating charge. And with time, that charge builds up and it has to release in some way. And that's the lightning that we see, that charge balancing that's going on in the atmosphere. So with almost any storm that forms during our monsoon season, during the summer in northern Arizona, you can have lightning.
Now, are there certain areas, certain parts of the state, or maybe central and northern Arizona, that are more prone to more frequent lightning strikes?
You bet. It's as simple as the higher terrain. Okay, the higher elevations in northern Arizona see more thunderstorms. There's less of an atmosphere or an insulator between the cloud and the ground to protect the ground. So the higher elevations, or the rims of canyons, like the South Rim of the Grand Canyon, very prone to lightning.
Okay. Now, Nazeh, when you're talking about, what's your message to hikers, outdoor enthusiasts who have the weekend off or a couple days off and they're set on going outside? What is your message to them, especially this time of year with the monsoon?
I think Brian had mentioned it. I think an early warning is the thunder. As soon as you hear the thunder, those are signs and signals for you to react and get out of harm's way. What's interesting is lightning can travel up to 10 miles from the storm itself.
Oh, wow.
And that's quite a distance.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're thinking about, it's almost like with flooding, we're talking about, it doesn't have to be raining in your area, right? But you can still be really affected by flash flooding. With lightning, just because, I mean, how many times have you seen lightning when it's not raining?
Yeah.
And so what are some of the things, I mean, other than just a direct strike, a lightning strike, with this 17-year-old, he was struck by lightning, but also the two other gentlemen that were with him also suffered injuries. What are some of the injuries that we see, Chief, with lightning strikes? I mean, what is so dangerous about this?
Well, the person that actually gets struck by the lightning itself, obviously is going to experience the more severe injuries. There's over 400 lightning strikes a year in the United States. Between 55 and 60 are fatalities, unfortunately, but there's so many more that are neurological injuries, permanent injuries, and that's, I think, the injuries that are received from a lightning strike if you're within the proximity of a lightning bolt.
So I mean, really, the best thing, as we talked about, is just if there's a chance of storms, do whatever you can to stay out or stay inside and avoid going outside. But if you're outside, Brian, what are some of if you're outside and you're stuck out there and all of a sudden this storm happens and you don't have the luxury to get into a structure, a secured structure, what's the best thing for you to do at that point?
Well, here in northern Arizona, we love our outdoors. That's why a lot of us live here. But if we're caught outside, or if we have outdoor activities that we want to plan, number one, just try to get your activities done early in the day. Our thunderstorm cycle is it starts normally in the late morning to late afternoon. So if you want to do a hike in the mountains, try to be done by noon, for instance, is good. But if you're stuck outdoors and you start to see the clouds building, number one, stay away from the elevated terrain. Get off of the top of the mountain, get off of the ridge or the point. Number two, make sure you're not the highest object in the area. Okay, you're not standing alone in a meadow. You're not out there in the middle of the lake. You're not huddling under a single tree or the highest tree in the forest. You want to be within the general parameters of everything else around you. Okay, there is no safe place outside in a thunderstorm. Lightning can strike anywhere, but you can slightly minimize your chance of being hit by not being exposed to the lightning in the ways that I've chatted about.
So now, don't want to be out in the middle of an open field. So if you have that option, or going into the middle of the forest, you choose the forest.
You bet.
Right. Okay. Now, what about a tree? A tree gets struck by lightning, and I'm standing next to that tree. Can I still be affected by that lightning?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then what would be, so you're out there and that happens, 911 would be the first thing you call. When we come back from our break, I want to touch on some of the first aid. Okay, so we call the Verde Valley Fire District because we're out hiking.
Correct.
So-and-so got struck by lightning. Now what can we do? There's things that can be done, right, to
Absolutely.
try and help the situation before you guys get there. We'll touch on that when we get back from our break. Some phone numbers for you. The National Weather Service phone number in Belmont, 928-556-9161. You can also contact the Verde Valley Fire District at 634-2578. This is Countywide. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you?
You know you do.
That's why we're here. We're free and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos. Go to GetSchooled.com.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict, sitting down with meteorologist in charge at the Flagstaff office for the National Weather Service, Brian Klimowski, and the chief of the Verde Valley Fire District, Nazeh Hazimi, here talking about lightning. We had a 17-year-old north of Flagstaff who was hiking with a couple friends, and he was struck and killed by lightning. And the two friends he was with suffered injuries. They were put into the hospital because of the proximity to the lightning strike. So we're just trying to make people aware of the dangers. I mean, really, the message is if there's a chance of storms, or if you're outside and you hear or see storms building, get indoors. There's really no, as Brian mentioned before break, there's really no really safe place when outside in the middle of a storm, unless you're in a structure, safe structures. So, okay, Chief, now if I'm outside hiking, someone I'm with gets struck by lightning or a tree, and then that, injures them. What, first aid-wise, what can I do until you guys get there?
First thing you want to do is make sure you're safe. If you're going to assist someone else that's been struck or impacted by a lightning bolt, you want to make sure first the conditions are safe for you to even assist them. If the weather is still severe and there's a lot of lightning going on in the area, you may want to take cover and give yourself that few extra minutes to protect yourself first, and then engage and start helping that victim. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way. Just like first responders, we don't want to go into a situation if we can't, because we're going to endanger our own lives. Something happens to us, then we're no good to the patients and to the victims. So we want to make sure that we keep our situation safe, and allows us to go in and take care of the patients. But with lightning strikes, they can be very severe. Obviously, it's a lot of energy going through the body. So you have a point of entry and you have a point of exit. With most victims. So it's important that you identify where it came in and where it came out of the body. And everything in between is pretty susceptible to injuries. So you're talking about muscle tissue damage, broken bones. That's a hard jolt to the body, and that can cause a lot of problems. So assessing the patient quickly is important. So start with the airway, breathing, circulation. Obviously, if they're not breathing, they're in full arrest, cardiac arrest, you want to start CPR. So you would treat them like any other patient who quit breathing. There's a misbelief that the body is still energized because of the lightning strike, but that's not true. Okay. The lightning hit is very quick, and then it leaves. So then it allows us to come in and treat the patient.
Okay, so first things first, make sure you're not going to harm yourself.
Correct.
Okay, make sure everything's safe, and then body's not charged. So if they're not breathing, if they're in full cardiac arrest, start CPR. What about what's kind of going through your mind, first responders? I keep referencing this incident up north of Flagstaff, but the first responders were actually delayed a little bit getting up, hiking up the mountain because of the storms. There was just so many in the area, and they were so strong that they delayed. What's kind of going through your mind when you hear, not even just a lightning strike, just responding to a call on a trail in the middle of a storm? Sure.
The safety of the firefighters, safety of the first responders is first and foremost. Again, we have to be able to perform our duties, and something happens to us. Getting to the scene, at the scene, and all the above. So if there's still a lot of activity in the sky and lightning bolts are still coming down, that puts us in a very awkward situation. And it's a very tough call. It's not easy just to say, we don't want to help somebody that needs help. We have to refrain from ourselves going in and harming ourselves. And that's tough to do when our job is to help people. So it's a tough balance, but we have to do that and allow those extra minutes to make sure it's safe for us to go in and treat them.
And I'm sure in a case like that where you are delayed, that's where first aid is just critical.
Absolutely.
I mean, just to kind of do what can be done until the paramedics or the EMTs arrive on scene.
Absolutely.
Now, Brian, a lot of people during the summer like to be out on the water, like to be boating. What are the important things to know and recognize with that?
Boy, I like to say, be aware and stay prepared. If you're out on a large lake, keep your eyes on the clouds. You're going to see the thunderstorms building. And if you want to posture yourself closer back to the marina or to shore, if you start to see clouds building, that's a smart thing to do. You don't want to be isolated on a lake during a thunderstorm, because then you are the biggest object, or I should say the tallest object in the area, and very susceptible to a lightning strike.
Now, can lightning strike the same place twice?
You bet. Happens all the time.
Okay. And what about when you're talking about a lightning strike, okay, coming through, out in the middle of the open water. Okay, would you say, okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is when lightning hits, you see some of them bolts going across the sky, you see some cloud to ground. What's the difference? What's going on there? Why are certain bolts hitting the ground versus ones that aren't?
It's however that cloud can balance the charge in the atmosphere. It might be with another charge which is in the sky, positive charge here, negative charge here. Most of the time, it's between the cloud and the ground, between a negative charge in the cloud and a positive charge on the ground. So most bolts come down. Occasionally you see them cloud to cloud, but it's those cloud to ground strikes which are the most deadly, of course.
Okay. Now, I've never been in close proximity to a lightning strike, but what's going on? I mean, for somebody, if I'm in a car, we were talking about before the show, there's a video going around online right now, a viral video of a power pole, I believe it is, that's being struck by lightning, and it's just, I mean, completely destroying the pole. When we're talking about the area, a lightning strikes here, people around that, what are they, I mean, are they impacted by that, or where is that safe, I guess, zone after lightning strikes?
Boy, all depends what kind of conducting material is on or near the ground. Standing near puddles, for instance, or in water can expand that zone tremendously. But I would say 50 yards or so, you're going to be impacted by that lightning strike. It could be the extremely loud sound, or it could be the charge itself.
Now, are we seeing more lightning strikes this monsoon season, or how does this compare to the ones in the past?
This monsoon is really just taking off right now, so we're a little bit behind normal for most of northern Arizona. Though up in the mountains, we're actually, it's been a little bit more active than normal.
Okay. Now, what about, Nazay, flooding? We talked about at the beginning flooding being an issue. We had, and on this topic of lightning, Sedona Fire District last week responded to a lightning strike that got into an attic and touched off an attic fire. That same day, they had multiple flooding incidents. What are some of the things, while we have you here, that people should be looking out for regarding flooding?
You just want to be cautious that if there's any body of water that's moving, you don't want to cross it. And that's the rule of thumb. I mean, we do the same thing. When we approach a intersection or trying to get to a location, if there's a dry wash that is now running water, we just stop and we wait for it to recede before we can approach it. If there's a rescue to be made, then we're trained to do a swift water rescue. And so we engage in a rescue operation. That's a whole different situation.
How often are you guys monitoring the waterways going through this area, especially during this season?
Constantly. Yeah, we have it on our website, the Verde Valley Fire District website, so we can get live coverage of water levels from the Verde River and from Oak Creek. So we have a process in place. When I know certain areas of the Verde Valley is starting to flood, I know it's coming down to us, I can start being prepared for that. And early warning is the key.
And we've already just heard over the radio, I mean, the Weather Service putting out those alerts and the warnings and stuff. I mean, I think you see right when the monsoon starts, all of a sudden you start hearing those pretty frequently. So website for Verde Valley Fire, for the fire district, verdevalleyfire.org. Again, their phone number is 928-634-2578. And then the phone number for the National Weather Service office in Flagstaff, 556-9161. This is Countywide. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Okay.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict, sitting down with meteorologist in charge at the Flagstaff office for the National Weather Service, Brian Klimowski, and the chief of the Verde Valley Fire District, Nazeh Hazimi. I gave you the Verde Valley Fire District's website, but also the Weather Service, weather.gov is a great website, weather.gov. They're also on social media. You just look up the Weather Service and you can find the one for your area. Tons of great information on social media there. So, Brian, when we're talking about these storms, and we're telling people to be aware when they're out hiking or they're out camping, you see clouds building over off in the distance. What are we talking about in terms of speed with these storms between the time you see them building and the time they reach you?
Yeah, let me give you two things. The storms here during the monsoon season rapidly develop. That means you can go from blue skies to thunderstorms within 15 minutes to a half hour. They generally move pretty slow, though, let's say between 10 and 20 miles an hour, and that's what enhances the flash flood risk and the lightning in one specific area. So they can develop quickly, but they generally move pretty slowly.
Okay, great. And now when we're talking about, I know you guys work together a lot. The Weather Service works with a lot of different agencies because a lot of different agencies depend on the weather. But can you talk about, Nazeh, that relationship and how that works, that partnership between fire agencies and the Weather Service?
Sure. Brian actually had come out to speak to all the fire chiefs in the Verde Valley area and educate us on weather conditions and how they monitor it and the trigger points at times where they say, okay, this can be really bad or it's just going to pass through. Regardless, we need to know, what the weather conditions are going to be like on a daily basis. So their website and direct communication with Brian and the interactions that we have is great. It's awesome. We're a resource to each other.
Yeah, and all the great information that you guys are posting online, as I mentioned when we came back from break, is just huge. I mean, you guys are up to date constantly, especially if we see these storms moving through, and it's just a great way to keep people informed. And we talked about those graphs, on Twitter. You guys are posting these graphs that have percentages for different cities and towns across the area or where these storms are going to move, and you have a description down below that graphic, which is just great. So, yeah, lightning. Lightning, just got to be aware. Basically, the main thing, if there's a chance of storms and you think you're going to be outside for a long period of time, maybe delay your trip or not.
Situation awareness.
Yep, get
That's
out,
right.
seek shelter if you hear thunder. So thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
That's going to do it for Countywide. Really quick, some more information. Phone number for the National Weather Service, 928-556-9161. Weather.gov is their website. Verde Valley Fire District phone number, 634-2578. VerdeValleyFire.org is that website. So thank you both again for being here today. That's Countywide. We'll see you next time.